What's up, everyone, and welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we are going to unpack one of the most unbelievable, head-scratching collapses in recent NFL history. We're talking about the Indianapolis Colts and the frantic, high-stakes offseason that was born from a season that went completely off the rails. I mean, this is a team that had everyone talking Super Bowl, and then, in what felt like the blink of an eye, they became a historical punchline. So let's dive in and figure out how it all fell apart. Just look at that sentence. Let that sink in for a minute. The first team in the entire history of the National Football League to start the season 8-2 and somehow fail to make the playoffs. I mean, think about all the teams, all the seasons, all the games played for over a century. And this was a first. A painful, unprecedented first. A statistic like that doesn't just end a season. It creates an off-season pressure cooker. Every single decision, every signing, every trade was suddenly placed under the most intense microscope imaginable. So, how does a team even get to that point? How does promise turn to pain so quickly? Well, to really get a grip on the pressure the Colts front office was under, you have to understand the sheer whiplash of their 2025 season. It was truly a tale of two completely different teams, a Jekyll and Hyde performance for the ages. Okay, this timeline right here says it all. For the first 10 weeks of the season, the Colts were an absolute force. They were sitting at 8-2. They weren't just squeaking out wins. They were looking dominant. Daniel Jones was playing some of the best football of his career. Jonathan Taylor was a monster out of the backfield. And people were legitimately whispering AFC contenders. It didn't sound crazy at all. But then, week 14, the moment the music stopped. The season's Achilles heel, both literally and figuratively. Daniel Jones goes down with a season-ending Achilles tear. And what followed wasn't just a slump, it was a total catastrophic meltdown. 7 consecutive losses. 7. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion as all that early season hope and momentum just evaporated, ending in the gut punch of an 8-9 record. And here's the real hard truth that the front office had to face. The injury to Daniel Jones didn't create the problem. It just ripped the Band-Aid off and exposed it for the world to see. You know when you have that one Jenga block holding the whole tower up? That was their starting quarterback. And the second he got pulled out, the entire structure came crashing down. The team was built on a fragile foundation. They had next to no offensive depth to survive losing their QB, and the defense, which had been inconsistent all year, just couldn't carry that extra weight. This became objective number one for general manager Chris Ballard to solve. He couldn't just patch it. He had to rebuild the foundation. So, with the sting of that historic collapse still fresh, what did the front office do? Did they sit around and feel sorry for themselves? Absolutely not. They came out swinging. The very second the legal tampering period officially opened, it was like a starter pistol went off. Boom! The Colts unleashed a flurry of decisive, high-impact moves that immediately started to reshape this entire roster for the future. Yeah, those first 24 hours were just a whirlwind of activity. It was clear they had a game plan. Step 1, secure a young star they truly believed in. Step 2, reshape the identity of their offense by trading another star receiver. And Step 3, face the harsh reality of the free agent market and watch a key defensive player walk away for big money. It was a ton to process in such a short time, so let's break down each of these moves one by one. All right, so the very first order of business before they did anything else was to send a message. The Colts zeroed in on wide receiver Alec Pierce and basically said, "You are a cornerstone of our future. You're not going anywhere." They didn't even let him get a sniff of the open market. They identified their priority and got the deal done. That tells you everything you need to know about how they view him as a foundational piece for this offense moving forward. And when I say they sent a message, I mean they backed it up with a Brinks truck. We're talking about a massive 4-year, $114 million contract. That is a huge, huge commitment. But here's the part of the story that makes it even more powerful. Reports surfaced that Pierce actually turned down even bigger offers from other teams to stay right there in Indianapolis. Now, when a player does that, it's more than just a business transaction. That is a massive vote of confidence from both sides. He believes in what they're building, and clearly, they believe he's the guy to help build it. Okay, so just as the news of the Pierce extension is making the rounds, the Colts drop another bombshell. While one star receiver is getting paid to stay, another one is getting traded away. Michael Pittman Jr., a guy who has been a reliable target and a fan favorite for years, gets shipped off to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And check this out, the trade was Pittman and a 7th-round pick in exchange for just a 6th-round pick. On the surface, that return seems kind of light, right? But what a move like that really screams is a fundamental philosophical shift on offense. It's the Colts telling us they're changing their identity, moving away from the big-bodied possession receiver, and prioritizing a different kind of weapon, maybe one built more on speed and creating separation downfield. And the big moves weren't just happening on the offensive side of the ball, not by a long shot. While all this receiver drama was unfolding, a major piece of their defense was packing his bags and heading out the door. We're talking about their former first-round pick, defensive end Kwity Paye. He was a guy they invested a lot in, but when he hit the open market, it became pretty clear pretty fast that his new home wasn't going to be in Indianapolis. And boy, did Kwity Paye cash in. He landed a big 3-year, $48 million deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. And when you see a number like that, you start to understand the Colts' perspective. For them, that was just too high a price for a player who, if we're being honest, hadn't quite lived up to that first-round hype consistently. His production was a bit up and down. So the Colts drew their line in the sand on what they were willing to pay, and the Raiders happily stepped over it. But the consequence is immediate. Now there's a huge, gaping hole on their defensive line. The question of who's going to rush the passer just got a lot harder to answer. So you've got all these moving parts, right? Receivers coming and going, defensive ends getting paid elsewhere. But in the NFL, every road, every decision eventually leads back to the most important position in all of sports, the quarterback. And for the Colts, this is where the situation gets incredibly complicated and very, very expensive. They walked into this offseason staring down a true quarterback conundrum. All right, let's try to untangle this mess. On one side, you have Daniel Jones. He was on track for a massive payday before that Achilles injury. Reports say he was looking for something in the neighborhood of $50 million a year. The Colts offer, reportedly closer to $35 million. That's not a gap, that's a canyon. So with his market completely cooled off, he's forced to play on the $37.8 million transition tag, basically a 1-year prove-you're-healthy deal that neither side is probably thrilled with. Then, on the other side, you have Anthony Richardson, senior, the high draft pick, the raw prospect with a sky-high ceiling. Well, it seems the team and him have mutually agreed to find him a trade. But the QB musical chairs around the league are stopping, and it looks like Richardson might be left without a seat. His trade market has apparently dried up, and his best-case scenario might be a backup job somewhere else. It's a tough situation for everyone involved. You know, it's really easy to get lost in the contract numbers and the trade details and talk about this stuff like we're playing a video game, but it's so important to remember that these are real people with real careers and real families. These franchise-altering decisions have massive human consequences. So let's take a step back and actually look at the human fallout. Who were the winners and who were the losers after that wild first day of free agency? This scorecard right here, it lays it all out pretty clearly. Let's start with the winners. Alec Pierce, an absolute winner. He gets life-changing money with that $114 million deal and gets to stay in a system he knows. Michael Pittman Jr., also a clear winner. He gets traded to a stable organization in Pittsburgh and immediately inks a new $59 million contract. And Kwity Paye? You better believe he's a winner. He secured that $48 million bag from the Raiders. These three guys secured their futures. But then, you look at the other side of the coin. Daniel Jones has to be in the loser column here. That injury cost him a massive long-term contract and left him in limbo on a 1-year tag. And Anthony Richardson Sr. is right there with him. His path to becoming a starting quarterback in this league just got a whole lot cloudier. It's a brutal reminder of just how fast fortunes can change in the NFL. Okay, so we've broken down all the moves. We've looked at the winners and the losers. But now we have to circle back to the biggest question of all. After all that chaos, after all that money spent and all those players changing jerseys, are the Indianapolis Colts actually a better football team? More importantly, have they really solved the core issue, that terrifying lack of depth that led to the historic collapse in the first place? There was a quote from one of the pieces we researched for this explainer that just perfectly captures the Colts' dilemma. It said that the 2025 season proved Indianapolis has the talent to compete, but not yet the depth to sustain success. And that's it. That's the entire story in one sentence. On any given Sunday, they have the star power to hang with the best teams in the league. We saw it for 10 weeks. But the NFL season is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a 17-game war of attrition, and that season was a harsh, painful lesson that top-end talent alone just isn't enough. And if you need proof that the work is far from over, just take a quick look at their roster. The needs are still glaring. Losing Kwity Paye leaves a massive hole for a premier pass rusher. Who is going to consistently pressure the quarterback? That's a huge question mark. The linebacker room and the secondary need more than just bodies. They need reinforcements and some veteran leadership to stabilize things. And even on offense, locking up Alec Pierce was great, but it can't be the only move.
You still need more weapons, more playmakers, more depth to ensure that the next time one guy gets hurt, the entire season doesn't go right down the drain with him.
So here we are. The Colts were bold, they were decisive, they made tough calls on who to build around and who to move on from. And it all leads us to this final, lingering question. Are these the right foundational moves to build a true contender? Or is this all just shuffling the deck chairs while the biggest, most critical pieces of the puzzle are still missing? I would love to know what you all think. Drop your take on the Colts' wild offseason in the comments below. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, it would mean a lot if you hit that like button, and of course, subscribe to NFL Nexus for more breakdowns like this one. Oh, and one last thing before you go. If you're looking for something fun for the kids, grandkids, or even for yourself, be sure to check out our channel's coloring books. You can find them through the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on your screen now. Every purchase really helps support the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.